And so what I experienced is the most beautiful professional development. It was everyone contributed to the conversation, and you learned so much from people that either had great things to say or brought forth questions that were really kind of thought-provoking.
Everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SMA Audio Experience Podcast. We're really in for a treat. I think that's actually an understatement. We're joined by another returning guest from the Diocese of LA. It's amazing because this past guest who's returning on the show still holds the record for the most downloaded and most listened episode to date out of all of our 41 or going on 42 episodes. We're real feeling special about that. It's been a year or a little over a year since we last spoke with her. And that's none other than Leslie De Leonardis, who's on the phone. And she has some great news to share with you. And I want to kind of talk about three things that she's going to go deeper into. Number one, how has things changed for her from a career and a leadership point of view in the Diocese of LA and in the education space. That's one. Number two, she's going to be sharing a little bit deeper as far as her experience in a recent Archdiocese of LA EdCamp event. And then number three, she's going to kind of go more into, the STEM work that she's been doing for the purpose of education and some other stuff too. But those three things will definitely be covered in this discussion and in this podcast. So Leslie, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's the beginning of the year. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. I mean, no pressure now that I hear it was the most heard podcast. My friends and family out there better do the same this time and listen. Yes, things have definitely changed since the last time I spoke with the podcast. I am now, this is my first year out of my 16 years working for the Department of Catholic Schools in the Archdiocese, that I am out of a school building. So it's very strange. I am starting my second year as the STEM Network Director. So it is a new initiative that the Archdiocese of Los Angeles and the Department of Catholic Schools have started. The best way to explain it is we have decided as a Department of Catholic Schools to focus on innovative programs. They have started this kind of innovative focus with dual language schools, and they began a network of schools focused on dual language. So based on the success of that network, they focused on STEM as the next innovative program. So I was hired to research and begin a program model focused on STEM. So as of this year, which is really starting my second year, not only did I develop a program for STEM network schools, but we have chosen our first 3 schools to begin a Cohort 1 that really entails them transforming into a STEM transformation. There's a lot of different features that they are required to and bring into their schools that will make them a STEM network schools. I can go into details later, but I'm really excited. It's kind of a great, innovative, pioneering program that we're doing here. It's for the last year, it's kind of been in practice that we're thinking about it, and now we're actually doing it with these 3 schools. I can talk more about it later, but yeah, so it's different.
That's very cool. And I know we've been and a lot of other San Diego, like leaders and, people in the education space, we follow all your posts with, when you were at your previous role as, principal, where we first, interviewed you. And then, when you started that up, and at first, when I was, since myself and a lot of people kind of help with our social media here at St. Michael Academy, I was following it and I said, hey, what is this, a new entity, or like, what was it? And the more that I read about it on the website and through like your Twitter feed and Facebook and everything and Instagram, I said, oh, I see. It's a new initiative or a new department. I go, wow, like for such a big organization, for the Archdiocese of LA, because how many schools like fall under that umbrella? It's pretty big, right? Yeah, it's like 3 counties.
Yeah, we serve Los Angeles, Ventura, and Santa Barbara, and it's about 214 elementary schools.
Jeez. Okay. So see, like when I saw that and I go, wow, okay. So then my thinking is, if they've, set aside a leader and then like a whole division, not just kind of like one person and like a little group, like a little exploratory group. No, they actually set aside, this big of an initiative. Obviously, you got some really successful track record behind you. leveraging a lot of resources and working really great with a lot of people because you got an amazing skill set and leadership, foundation as well. And they actually made that investment, you know what I mean? And like, I was like, oh, wow, like they're really going full force at it. But I think it's such a great model where, if other people who are listening to this in other school districts or that may be smaller in other cities, there's a lot of things I think they can take from your template where you can follow the same thing, even though their scale might be smaller. Would you agree?
Definitely. I think that what we built the program model on is really from research and statistics that are out there, that there's a clear need for not only STEM education, but definitely STEM education within our Catholic schools. Mm-hmm. When we first started the program, there was a smaller interest, mainly because we weren't really sure what the STEM network was, which is, we were brand new. We didn't really have anything set. But I'm doing an info session that was open to all of our schools, and I have 80 attendants coming. Mm-hmm. And that was after I had to shut down the RSVP link because we didn't have enough space.
Okay.
So now that it's really clear that, STEM is I always love to say this, STEM is great because everyone knows about it. STEM is also kind of not great because everyone thinks they know what it is and it's unclear. So it's a great opportunity to kind of talk about, well, what is STEM? Right. Is there a need for STEM? What does it really look like? What can it look like? What power does it have to really affect our students in the world beyond just our classrooms? It's kind of a powerful conversation to have. I had this conversation with someone not too long ago that in 25 years, we're not going to call it STEM. We're just going to call it learning. And that's kind of what has to take place soon. I won't have a job as a STEM director, I don't think, in 20, 30 years. But it's going to be great, I think. And it's a powerful and important conversation that we have soon rather than later to really make sure that we're doing justice to our students.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, just to, be transparent as well, on the show. Just today, like I was working with a teacher, before I went into, my day job, because obviously I do this as a volunteer. Mm-hmm. And one of the things when I was helping one of our new teachers, because we had, probably about half of our staff is all new. So we're just getting stuff set up in the classroom technically. And then I made a comment to her. I said, man, I go with, with St. Michael Academy, last year they joined a cohort of like 4 schools, based on, NGSS standards, mm-hmm. And then blended learning and all that stuff, all those words that you heard before, but you could actually see this year the rigor of how much, training and implementation and feedback and just this constant cycle that teachers are having to go through, but they're explaining of why they're doing it for the purposes of students. And obviously we're in a Catholic school system, so they also have that aspect of our faith in there. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, I go, St. Michael's is a school that I went to when I was a kindergarten through 8th grade. I graduated there, and that whole parish and campus is like a second home to me. But I said, at that time, like probably like 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago when I was there as a student, the traditional, at that time, memorizing things and factual, taking tests and everything. I was probably like a B student, C student. I was never a straight A student, like whatsoever. I just have to get by with, being creative, extra work, just extra practice. I just never was really good academically. The more that I study, like, talking to like leaders and professionals like yourself, or seeing more of these conferences, just helping out from a technical aspect, but then like listening in and hearing this content and hearing these discussion and reading these white papers with the skills that I have now, I'd probably have a lot more fun in this whole like new way of like learning as opposed to the old way. 'Cause I was just never really good at memorizing things or, just conceptually doing things. I just needed to be in it, work with people. I could communicate well, but, and I could get others to work well together, but there was never really a way to measure that, or any value seen in that, 20 or 30 years ago. But I get it. It was different back then than it is now.
It isn't. And what we're hoping that we're asking our students now is that we're creating that experience where it's deeper learning and it's more applicable learning, and it's not memorization where you forget it. When you go into the classroom, the teacher's like, you learned this last year, and they learned it, but they didn't apply it. So it's not a deeper learning that they're experiencing, which is what you need in the real world now, right? We're getting kids ready for jobs that don't exist yet. We hear this all the time, but it's true. If you think about when you were a kid, half of the jobs that you can apply for now, you'd never heard of, right? Social media exists, right? So
exactly.
So it's great, and it's an exciting world that we're preparing them for, but we ourselves don't even know what we're preparing them for.
Right.
We talk about our schools in the world of education. We often talk about achievement gaps that exist, but the reality is there's also opportunity gaps that exist in our world, and STEM can really help bridge both the opportunity and achievement gaps. The mission statement and vision statement of our network, my STEM network, or our STEM network, is we want to equip and empower our students. And I really think about equipping is to really help them with this achievement gap, but the empowering them is really helping them with the opportunity gaps. We want them to see the world as their playground, that there is no barrier and every opportunity is available to them, no matter what background, what socioeconomic background they come from. Everything is their world.
Right. And I think what's nice is with proper mentorship and leadership, and I think anchored in our faith, our Catholic faith, which is very interesting, is when you take that mindset and then that tool set and that, all of those pieces, what's interesting is that's a common, that's a very prominent statement that I hear, is like equipping, and then the world is what they can make of it. But I think what's to add an extra layer to it, which I think is it's a cool special like superpower. I think of it like comics, like a superpower or something like that, is having that extra piece of faith that we allow for in our schools, or in our Catholic schools, when they use these tool sets and they encounter challenges or new things that are unknown. The tool sets and the skills they learn help them tactically get through that. But as they go through that roller coaster ride, or that story, or that short story, or that comic book story, which is we call life, that faith is there to anchor them so that they can go through the up and the down. Even if they're by themselves, like say if serious life events happen, that faith is a constant anchor no matter what. You know what I mean? And you can get STEM, like they talk about STEM schools and other educational learning opportunities, but in the Catholic school system, that's the one piece that I think people can tangibly, like the older generation, the baby boomers, or the people who are like me in their 30s or 40s, or the younger parents. That's the one thing I think they can relate to, is like, oh, they've always heard of the faith, right? Like, hey, your faith is your anchor. That's that one unique piece, I think, that makes our STEM capability, across the nation in Catholic schools, something really special.
Definitely. I think that I always refer to our STEM learning as a mindset or a culture, right? Our schools are transforming to a STEM mindset, STEM culture, and we are using our Catholic identity as part of that mindset. But when we have conversations of, there's no question about that science and the advancement of science and technology are definitely bringing morality and ethical questions to the table.
Right.
We want our Catholic STEM students to be equipped and empowered to be at that table more than anyone else, because not only do we want them to have that STEM knowledge to answer those questions, but they have something more powerful than that. They have that Catholic identity knowledge to also help them with that STEM knowledge that no one else at the table will have. So it's an advantage to us to have Catholic STEM students in the world. And
awesome. Cool.
it's like a very powerful kind of thing to think about. It makes people think differently, like, oh, you're right. It's not just about STEM. It's having Catholic STEM students, having this graduate profile that we created. When you look at it, you're like, wow, that's a powerful profile to look at. We talk about creating the STEM learning ecosystem. We don't just want to have powerful schools. We want to have powerful parents, great community partnerships, other activities and partnerships beyond just our community. So it's going to be a great movement, and we're really excited about it.
That is cool, and I'm glad. I mean, and what better way than in a podcast? Because what's funny is, and actually my hope, obviously doing like over 40 episodes, like with zero understanding of how to do any of this stuff, right? Because so many people think like, oh, hey, Mark, you have a IT or a technology background. Like, yeah, it works with a computer. You should be able to figure out. I was like, media creation and talking to people and interviewing people, like, it's like I have some foundational skills, but then again, I kind of used some of that, blended learning or, gathering material and talking to people and, trial and error, and everything like that. And, people who are empathetic like yourself, where you're like, who's this guy, this parent from San Diego randomly messaging me a year ago saying, you want me to interview on what? Like on a show or something like that? And, you had a lot of courage there. So, I wanted to thank you for that.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
So with that's such a great point. I think that's a really good segue into now, like there's a lot of actionable items like that you mentioned at the introduction of our show, about like events. And one of the key things that really stood out to me, and to give everyone context, I think you retweeted, you had it on your Twitter feed, but also on the STEM Schools LA Twitter feed as well. And it was, I think, around August 5th. So for those of you who are like listening to this, and then you can go on Twitter, and if you're looking at our feed, don't forget to jump on and be a follower on their feed, on their Twitter feed, and their social media is pretty amazing. Really great resources too. Around August 5th, you had posted something about a first ever ADLA, like an Archdiocese of Los Angeles EdCamp event. Can you kind of share more of that story and that experience?
So yeah, I part of my position is I also work with the Archdiocese C3 team, kind of, not really officially work, but I've been able to help them with the C3 conference. And they also have a maker truck initiative that I've been working with them on. That's another exciting program initiative. They have every year a conference that's focused on, in the past it was almost solely focused on tech, but they've moved from just tech, but like tech integration, innovation in the classroom. And so this year, every year it's a 2-day conference, with the day before being almost like a pre-conference. And this year it was so exciting. Their pre-conference was what was called an EdCamp. An EdCamp is kind of an initiative that's been going across country, and it's known as the Unconference. It was new to me. I was briefed on understanding what it was because I was a facilitator of the EdCamp, but a facilitator in very loose sense. So what an EdCamp is, it's an open conference. Anyone can attend that's in the field of education. We actually even opened it up to parishes. So pastors, religious ed, secretaries of parishes. And what it is it starts off as a open or large group, whole group professional development. They go over the rules of the EdCamp, which is anyone can attend. There's no set topic, which kind of blows my mind, and it kind of has that fear for people. How it loosely is people get a Post-it, multiple Post-its, not one, but you can have 5, and you basically put a topic that you want to learn more about. So it can be related to teaching, it can be related to anything in education. So you write the topic on your Post-it, one on each Post-it, and what happens is the main facilitator of the EdCamp gets they have the Post-its kind of on one large wall or sheet of paper, and they go in, a couple facilitators go in and kind of sort them. So there could be common themes. It can be, more help with with tech integration, or more help with math, more help with working with parents, or more help with catechetical formation. So those get sorted into similar topics. And after that, they get assigned rooms. So you get assigned a room so the math topics get assigned room 1. The catechetical formation gets assigned room 3. And you'll have a facilitator that's assigned to that room. And you are welcome to go to whatever topic you feel more inclined to want to hear about. And the best part is that when you go into the room, even though there is a facilitator, that facilitator is not the expert in the room. Everyone in the room is the expert. And so what I experienced is the most beautiful professional development. It was everyone contributed to the conversation, and you learned so much from people that either had great things to say or brought forth questions that were really kind of thought-provoking and created conversations around that. Initially, it took about like 5 to 10 minutes to get people going, but once conversation flowed, it was the kind of the best way to develop everyone's professional thought process. I don't know how to explain it. It was something that I think everyone needs to experience. You can't imagine how much you really get out of it. I'm kind of rambling, but it was a great experience.
No, I don't think you're rambling there. Actually, what's funny is the way that you described it. What it comes to my mind from a business, like from a business operation sense, like I'm looking at, here's a different lens, is a lot of high performing entrepreneurs, right? Whether they have small teams or big companies. And a lot of people who are on this call have heard of that idea of the mastermind, right? Or
Right.
like-mindedness.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another, to me, like on a high level, it seems like a form of that, right? Like if you strip away everyone's name tag and titles and you just left
Mm-hmm.
those topics, you just have like-minded people without prejudging each other, because there's no label,
Right.
of talking about that topic that matters the most to them and whatever their context or whatever purpose they wanted to join that conversation. You know what I mean? So that's why it seems powerful but hard to, I guess, describe. But
Yeah,
to the people there, it made the most sense.
and I think that it gives everyone value. I think that there are experts, right, in the
Sure.
room, and that's important, but everyone's an expert, and I think that that's the importance of it. The most powerful PDs that I've ever been to are often the ones that collect feedback from the participants and then adjust using their feedback in action, right? So when I do a week of PD with the staff,
Yes.
or when I'm having, like, I have a year of PD with the STEM schools that
Yes.
we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is to collect feedback after every PD to readjust and create the PD for the next time. Because ideally, I have a set of what PD I want to do, but that may not be what they need. And I think that it's hard when you have 30 people or 40 people, and you want to do a PD for all of them, which is, there are 40 different individuals. But
Right.
an EdCamp really does kind of design the PD for each individual person. And it's the only time you can really do that. So I highly recommend, if you ever have a chance to join an EdCamp, definitely do it.
Awesome. No, I mean that, and it was funny and that's the reason why it was, to me, it's such a big point to make sure that was one of the core talking points today on the show, was even to this day, like this is the end of August when we're recording this, you posted that like right after August 1st or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was so many things going through my mind, like getting, accounts set up for like all the new teachers. We recently had a new principal join on as part of the new staff, and we had a lot of stuff going on. But even till this day, I was like, I need to get Leslie on the show to talk about that comment that you did in less than in old school Twitter. You did it in less than 140 characters, not new school Twitter, 280. You did it in classic original form, 140 or less, talking about the joy of it's almost, like unmanaged professional development was like more than you can ever imagine. You know what I mean? And that stuck with me this whole month. And I was like, okay, hey, when can we schedule? I was like, we need to get this content and that message out there, because I think a lot of it can bring a lot of value to teachers, because the more that I talk with teachers, more and more as I volunteer for, that's like going on 4 years and more, right, is, just like with anything, professional development, and no matter what you do, whether it's education or something else, sometimes everyone's like, oh, okay, hey, another going through the routine,
Mm-hmm.
Training here, training there. Okay, they're going to talk about the latest buzzwords or this or that. Or, okay, hey, there's a new curriculum. And I think that's one of those things, is it's almost kind of like an adrenaline shot or something, like where you're like, hey, this is something fresh, but it can really bring you in, and that's worth its money, even if it's free. It's like, man, someone should charge for that. You know what I mean?
It's definitely, and that it totally reinvigorated me. I myself was kind of skeptical when they asked if I would help, and I'm like, okay, but what am I doing? I got to give a shout out to NC8, because they kind of brought it to the C3 conference.
Right.
And it's super low budget. You just need yourself and some, and Post-it notes and a wall. And I think it can be used for a faculty meeting. I myself am going to be using it for half of one of our PD days. It'll end the day on a really great kind of positive note. And I think it's going to inspire the teachers to you can even do it with one of your classes.
Yep.
I don't know. There's so many different ways you can do it. I think that it's powerful to give voice and choice, not only to our students, but to our teachers. And that's something that we can't forget ever.
That's cool. I mean, that's such a nugget, because I'm going on year 2. Like, there's this theme that I've been, sharing with I shared with the teaching staff last year, and I shared with the new teaching staff this year. as a volunteer, I think another angle, as far as, just obviously promoting the school and, using different forms of media is gone. Or like, it's hard for me to see the days where you find like a Catholic school where there's like a waiting list to get to the school, like on K-8 or something, because there's so many other choices now. So one of the angles, and I don't mind sharing it because it's really hard to execute on, but I love putting it out there, is I've been on a big mission to make and promote teachers and leadership in the education space like rock stars, right? Like, we hear those terms like, hey, you're an Instagram influencer, right? You're an influencer on this. They're the go-to person on, this topic or that industry, or et cetera, et cetera. And I said, you know what? I was like, they have that going on, and that's great. It generates great business, marketing, small business, big business, stuff we hear in the news, good or bad. But, hopefully we like to, err on the side of watching more good, good data or good news, but the big thing for me is, why don't we have more tools in place to give more choice and more education and more of that, like, to teachers? Like, hey, you're not just someone who's in a classroom and, like teaches stuff from curriculum and, learn some new stuff in there. Like, for those teachers who want to branch out and they want to write books, they want to be more well-known because in their mission or whatever purpose they have, with their faith and all that stuff, they might want to grow, right? Like, they might want to have more tools on their tool belt, and they have good intentions and great purpose. Well, why don't we treat them like, give them the tools to be like rock stars? It doesn't have to be in a bad form, like, oh, there's a teacher who just wants to, just be popular. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a really great message, whether, and your intention is good and genuine from the core, then no matter how many people hear you, it's a good thing to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I told one of my favorite mentors that I got to work with, Dr. Susan Abeline, her favorite hashtag was Catholic Educators Rock. And it's true, like, they are rock stars. And I think that we need to give them credit more and more. And Catholic parents rock. Like, our parent community are just as incredible as anyone else. They do sacrifice a lot. My bucket list this year, hopefully, if not next year, is to do an EdCamp with our parent meeting. We want to do STEM parent nights, but how cool would it be if we did a EdCamp style where they get to tell us what they want to learn more about?
Awesome.
Maybe NGSS, maybe how to help more with math homework, and how can we use their knowledge and their skills already to help other parents. So we'll see.
Awesome. No, I agree. I mean, see, that's the one thing I think that, and we were talking about this before we started the recording, we originally wanted to record this like just after Thanksgiving last year, but with all of this time that's passed, with more things of actionable, like events and things that, schools that have opened, like in your cohort, I think the timing is just right. Like being able to, someone can replay, especially like in this episode, say for the last 5 or 7 minutes when we were talking about, like that exercise, like with the Post-it notes and everything, and see how, like, I'm going to go meta right here. See how, like, you broke that down tactically where someone can go, okay, hey, here's step 1, step 2, how you facilitate it. You straight up said, hey, it's low budget. You don't really need to do it. And you gave so many different avenues, like, okay, maybe a staff meeting. Hey, maybe even in your class. Hey, maybe even like with parents, right? If someone's listening to that, I don't mind. They can take this episode, they can cut that piece out and then put it on their website. Hey, give a shout out to, STEM Schools LA, and make sure you shout out to Leslie. I want like that actionable stuff. That's fantastic. Like, that's amazing that people can hear this. Oh, cool. It's content. Okay. They're taking notes. I'm excited to hear some feedback and some stories, from you or people who listen to or follow your content, where they go, hey, I remember hearing that episode, and man, like, I took your tip there, Leslie, and, we tried it, and hey, this is what happened. It was like dynamite. You know what I mean? So, oh man, if you don't hear it in my voice, that's the excitement, because it's such an actionable nugget, like, right now.
Well, that's the goal. My goal is always to provide whatever resources and take as many resources as I can. Now is a great time. I have on our stemschoolsla.org website, I have a tab of resources that I've been trying to collect and vet for teachers that have either STEM focused resources, math resources, tech resources, or whatever teaching resources I can. I put them all in one place for all of our teachers because I know it's so hard to find or to have the time to find these resources for you guys out there. But I really am trying to find ways to get this information out there. But please feel free to use them, to add to them, or to email me if you have any questions. But like I said, we're such a large diocese, and there's so many more out there that I would love to do what I can. I even have a video about like what is STEM in simplified version.
Yes, I watched that. That was like
Yeah,
really
right?
good.
It's one of the best ones I found out there. There's some about NGSS I'm probably going to add, or I think I've linked.
Yes.
But take what you can. I think it's a great way to start spreading the word and share.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. And so I want to take that note for those listeners, especially like in, how you talked about amazing Catholic school parents, especially like in your Diocese of Los Angeles, right? Mm-hmm. Is I hope, actually, I'll put this out there to any parent who's listening to this. I want to hear another parent similar, like emulate what I'm doing, like, and help you or like work with your media team to gather more content that you can use in creative ways to start your podcast. So like you guys got tons of schools, and everything like that. That means there's tons of parents. There has to be like at least one or two parents who'd be like, hey, I've thought about kind of doing that stuff. Well, they can get a 2-for-1, right? Like everyone likes deals. Well, if they want to explore what podcasting is like, well, why don't they go on that journey with you and help you build content where they can learn about podcasting, and then they can help you guys out with making content. Yeah. I just want, that came to me right now. And I was like, and if they want a model of how it's done on super, super low cost, or how do you do it? I'm more than happy, I'll put my contact information in there. Anyone can reach out to me, to me through the school. I'll put everything that we're talking about, obviously, in the show notes and everything.
Awesome.
But they can see the 40 plus episodes over 2 years that we've done. Yeah. I'll take a picture of what the podcast studio looks like right now for everyone who thinks it's complicated. I'm on my lunch break, sitting in my car in downtown San Diego, under 4 levels in the parking garage, under like minimal light. I have a laptop with 1 microphone and Amazon $2 headphones in my ears, and we're using a free version of Zoom, the meeting software, and I'm recording it. And that is a podcasting studio that is generated 40 plus episodes for the school. And that's pretty much it. So if someone says that they can't do something similar, and there's even newer ways to do it, it's just a matter of finding the person wanting to do that with the right context. So, but I'm happy to help anybody point them in the right direction. So
thank you.
Yeah, to let everyone know that visualization, I'll timestamp it. That's today on August 29, 2019 at 11:38 in the morning. We started at around 11 a.m. or 10:55 Pacific Standard Time. And I'm having a blast doing this. It's an amazing, thing. So depending on how your school does service hours, or if you just want to do it because you want to learn something new and just grow yourself, and let podcasting be a great way to meet people. Like if your schedule doesn't permit, because maybe you got to shuttle the kids around to different, like after school activities, or you're caring for a loved one, or you're like me where you work a standard 40, 9-to-5 job, or 40-hour work week, but there's more to you than just your job. You are the person, and you want to like grow your faith, or and learn from great people. This is just another avenue where you can make it fit if you want to. I know that's a little off topic, but I just have to throw it in there because you talked about how amazing Catholic school parents are.
Yeah.
And I was like, with the amount of to work towards your mission of growing, the message out there of the amazing work that you're doing for the STEM network in LA, I really think that, you can have someone in your media team, technically do it, that's cool too. But man, like what a great angle or story if, you get some resources from parents who are like just dedicated to the core, on there. And that just makes the story even that much sweeter.
Yeah. Let's equip and empower our parents too. Exactly.
Yeah. That's super, super cool. All right. Well, those are those main things we wanted to talk about. Is there any other things that you wanted to promote, or share about, like what you have going on? I know that you always like mix things up with your dog and everything like that too.
Right. My dog Einstein, if I don't love science, if that doesn't tell you how much I love STEM, then I don't think anything else does. No, we're just really excited. Our 3 schools are Holy Spirit STEM Academy, which has its opening ceremony ribbon cutting tomorrow because it got a full renovation.
Cool.
And then our other two schools, Divine Savior and St. Tribius, which started school already. We're really excited and proud of them. I mean, they are going out the gate super strong. We're excited to add 3 new schools coming this school year, so they will be announced by January. We are going strong. There's so much to talk about, but I'm really happy with how the Archdiocese and the Department of Catholic Schools has embraced innovation and really kind of putting Catholic schools on the map in the most positive way. So we got a new superintendent,
That's right.
Mr. Paula Scala, who's been a great addition as well. So and thank you, Mark. I mean, I love talking to you, and it's been really great to get me out of my comfort zone. I definitely like to be the center of attention. So it's really great to be able to talk things through and really put us on the map. So
that's super cool. Oh, you know what? The one school you didn't give a shout out to that we were following is and St. Francis of Assisi, like where it started. And then the Innovative High School. Please share with them about that. Yes.
John Paul II STEM Academy. It's a high school in Burbank that just launched in August. I work with them as their implementation success coach. So I get to work at their actual campus once a week. I work every Tuesday with them. They are like no other Catholic high school. They're not only are they focused on STEM and they have 2 pathways, they have a very creative school day with a 4x4 schedule, kind of flexible Fridays. They are amazing. And their school renovations, not to mention, are like a college campus. They have a great team of teachers. I highly suggest if you ever come down to take a look. I work there every Tuesday. They are hopefully going to be the model school that we get to do more with Catholic high schools.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I've been following that a lot. And the amount of work and their parent community, I saw some of the work that they were helping with, like especially with assembling all the furniture and everything. I mean, that's no easy task. That's definitely not an easy task.
I'm an alum of the actual former high school, Bellarmine Jefferson High School. So it's really great to see the transformation, but how they're embracing the alumni community as well, and how the alumni community is embracing the newer high school. So it's a beautiful new addition for sure.
That's awesome. Well, for sure. Like I have all the information because can you give, let everyone listening know where to find you on the website and social? Can you share that information? Because I'm going to put it in the notes, but I want them to hear it straight from you.
So the STEM Network website is stemschoolsla.org. Our handle for social media is also STEM Schools LA. My personal social media is MSDEL, DEL STEM, and you can find everything there. The high school is JP STEM, so everything is connected to that. But you can find us all there, and I'm very responsive to email or social media, so ask me anything you guys would like.
Awesome. Well, I think this is going to be another special episode, like in the books, where it's really value rich, and what is that? We're not asking anything from anybody except to take action, really, with the content that they hear from here. If you find value in it, take some action on it. And even if you want to one up that, you can share it with somebody and partner up and do something together. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And if you need any support or help or resources, definitely reach out. It's not easy to do it alone, but we have support.
Amazing. All right. Well, I wanted to take, a few seconds, to commend you, Leslie, on your growth as a Catholic school leader in this innovative new space of STEM and science, and really utilizing all your God-given talents to really be a blessing to many, many families that you're going to be a part of their story, and all the things that you've implemented and are implementing will be very generational for things to come that will be very exponential, I think, in the value they bring to your community and your family and the families that you share and serve. So I wanted to make sure I commend you for that.
Thank you so much. It's always great talking to you, Mark. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, that concludes another episode of the SMA Audio Experience Podcast. For all our new listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, in iTunes or whatever podcast directory that you're listening to us on, or on, the respective websites. If you're an existing listener, we thank you so much for your ears, because we know that with so many things pulling at your attention, listening to us and finding value in this is a gift and a privilege for us to provide this to you. With that being said, everyone have a great rest of the week. Don't forget, just strengthen your faith. Use all the resources. We'll post everything in the show notes. And most importantly, God bless.